You finally met your match, chameleon.
We're not so different, you and I.
Skadoosh. Stand back. I'm gonna kick my butt.
This week on Talking About the Movies, it's time to find an inner peace again as Jack Black returns in the fourth installment of the Kung Fu Panda series, Kung Fu Panda 4.
It's breathtaking. When you see sand here, imagine water. If you dive in, you can't reach the bottom.
You dive in.
Yes, it's called swimming.
I don't believe you.
It's time to head back into the world of Dune. I'm probably not going to say anything that hasn't already been said already, but we'll talk about Dune Part 2, a double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies, where, of course, on the show we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. And we actually have two movies this week because I didn't go see last weekend's big new release until this week. So we got two movies to look at today, so we got a lot to talk about. So let's just go ahead and jump on a new one. We'll start off with this weekend's big new release, and that is Dreamworks' latest animated feature, the fourth installment of the Kung Fu Panda series, simply known as Kung Fu Panda 4. So kind of summing up the other Kung Fu Panda movies really is going to be very simple because they're all really good movies. I mean, the first one was one of those big surprises everybody didn't see coming. The second one, I think, is the best one of the series. I think it's the one that has the best story, the best animation, the best heavy moments in there. It gets dark at times, and there are a lot of good emotional moments in there. And it still has my favorite climax of the series. I mean, that's the best third act of the entire series to me. And everybody wanted to go see Hangover 2 instead of actually supporting that movie. And I still I still hate people for doing that. But Kung Fu Panda 3 definitely was not the best. Definitely was a step down from the second movie, but it was still a really good movie. I still found a lot of merit to it. I think there is still a lot about that movie that is still really good. I just don't think it's as good as the other movies are, but I do like that. I do like some of the additions they made in that particular movie here, and they do continue in this particular film as well. So when they announced Kung Fu Panda 4, I think I speak for everybody when I say that I think I was really not looking forward to seeing what they were going to do because you had a great trilogy wrap it up, and it just feels unnecessary to continue it unless you have something really, really good that you have planned for this next movie. And did this do that? Let's get right into it and I'll talk about it. So you have Jack Black once again returning as Poe, who must find and train his successor as the new Dragon Warrior, teaming up with this fox bandit named Zen, played by Awkwafina, and the two have to team up to defeat the evil source, the Chameleon, played by Viola Davis. And right off the bat, it feels weird that Master Shifu, once again here, played by Dustin Hoffman, is basically telling Poe that he has to find his successor just as he's slowly but surely becoming his own. It feels like Poe hasn't been in the job long enough compared to somebody like Master Oogway was when he had to choose the Dragon Warrior in the first film. And it's just like in this particular movie, it just feels like Shifu's forcing him out of there. But then again, Poe has evolved more than probably Shifu or Oogway could have ever done, but I don't know. I just thought that was kind of weird. So basically, Poe's becoming the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace because you see him with the scepter that he has that opens up the realm to the spirit realm, and so pretty much the story here is that the bad guy of the movie, the Chameleon, basically wants to harness the powers of all the different masters of the past who are in the spirit realm, including Tai Lung, played once again here by Ian McShane. He's the only character that actually has a voice in this movie, even though all the other villains from the other movies are back in this one. The other ones don't really have a whole lot to say in this, but in fact, the Furious Five are not in this movie. Like, they're in there. They're there at the end credits, and they're mentioned at the beginning that they're off on different adventures, which I'm assuming that they're going to use that as the jump off piece for spin-offs down the road, so you can find out what happened to Tigress, Mantis, Monkey, Crane, and who's the last one? Viper. I just figured it out as soon as I stopped recording. But it's weird not seeing them in there because they were the focal points of the other movies, especially Tigress, who essentially became kind of a big sister to Poe's little brother, especially in the second movie and in the third movie as well. So it's kind of weird not having them in there, and their absence definitely is felt in this movie. But then again, because of everything that's going on in this particular film, it doesn't necessarily hurt the ebb and flow of the film itself. I mean, you could still watch it and get the sense that, there's still a reasoning for why this movie is around, like why this movie still exists. It's kind of hard not to compare this to something like a Toy Story 4, which is another sequel that really felt unnecessary because the third film wrapped the trilogy up very well. But I like Toy Story 4 a lot. I do really like it as its own little separate adventure from the original trilogy. It's a nice. I think it's a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I think that one has more reasoning for existing and actually has more memorable moments to it than something like this film. But that's not to say that I don't think the movie is bad. It is definitely the weaker of the series, the weakest film of the series overall. But all these movies have been really good, and this one is still a really good movie. I do like Jack Black and Awkwafina have this nice little chemistry together, and you can really buy that, okay, there's something there that you can buy as a friendship overall. I thought the villain played by Viola Davis was very good. I like the idea of the chameleon, the shapeshifter. Like, that's one of those things, like, every time I see that in the movie, or storyline, just like that freaks me out, that somebody that could actually be trying to kill you because they could shift into whoever that person wants to. And it does lead to a lot of really cool animated designs in this. Like, she takes all the spiritual leaders and like morphs them into one character in a number of different scenes towards the end of the movie, and it's really well done. Like, the animation overall is incredible. I'll get to that in just a second, but probably my favorite overall aspect of the movie that I really did not see coming was the growth of the relationship between Poe's dad, his adoptive dad, and his real dad, James Hong and Bryan Cranston. They have a lot of good fun chemistry to them, and it doesn't feel like one dad's trying to upstage the other. It's not daddy's home like that style of humor, though. They both really care about Poe. They don't want Poe to get hurt, but they realize that they can be just as important to his life, and like they are willing to get behind him no matter what. And I like that chemistry they have in this movie. And I like that Bryan Cranston, who's Poe's real father, basically, like, he's still not, like, comes off as this big boating person especially compared to Poe, but there are times when it can act like Poe too. Like, he's not really prepared for like situations. Like, there's this moment where they go to this restaurant that Poe and Zen had been to the night before, and he goes there to intimidate the people inside the bar, and like he shows off his menacing side, but then when he has to sneak away and look around and be like, and like if he burns his hand, he's like to be a tough guy, he turns his hand and just like little things like that, little stuff like that. Like, I like that stuff in this movie. I thought they did a pretty good job of handling that. This one does have a lot of notable flaws to it, especially with the story, which is kind of generic overall and doesn't really do anything too significant. There isn't really any real-life lessons being learned in this. Some of the twists, I think, are too predictable to figure out. Like, I like the idea that the chameleon, if you could tell that it's actually her, because anytime you see her as a character, you see, like, what's the word I want to use here? The snake skin, like you could, like in the beginning when you see Tai Lung come back, if you look closely, you could see like the little snake skin, like circles on him that make you think like, it's like right away I figured out, okay, so that's the way that you could tell that this is actually the chameleon. And if you watch the movie, you can pretty much figure out what that's going to be right away. I hate that they do the liar reveal thing or the double crosser. Like, the double crosser, I think, is one of those cliches that I've never liked. The double crosser. I never liked that cliche whatsoever. And one of the characters is a double crosser, and I hate that cliche so much. And when that happened in this movie, it's just like, really, we're doing this, and like it really affects it affected the film a little bit, but never to the point where I could say that it ruined the ebb and flow of the film for me. In fact, none of that really does that. Yeah, it doesn't have the darker moments like the other two movies did, the last two films did, but like I said, nothing really about this movie ruins the ebb and flow of the fun factor here. I know some people had some problems with the way that the spiritual leaders, including Tai Lung, responded to Poe towards the end of the movie, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't see anything about that made me feel upset about that. I was just kind of like, I was waiting for it to be so much more. I thought it was going to be much more, you know, worse than what people said, but it never really got to that point in particular. And I even like there's a little bit of a Cars 3 thing where the main hero of the movie is not the one that saves the day overall. It's the side character. Kind of like how in Cars 3, it's Cruz Ramirez who becomes the hero in the long run at the end of the movie instead of Lightning McQueen, and that's one of the few things I actually really liked about Cars 3 overall. But other than that, though, I will say this though, probably the one thing I probably did not see coming about this movie was the end credits song, and that is a Jack Black doing a version of Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time. This sounds like a terrible idea. It sounds like something that should be dead on arrival, and yet it's probably one of the most badass covers I've ever heard. I mean, I've listened to this song probably like 10 times since I've heard it. It's just like, what the hell is going on here? Why is this so badass? And I mean, it's a really good cover. It's Tenacious D doing Hit Me Baby One More Time. This should be dead on arrival. This should be the death nail for this, but it works. It works really well, and it surprisingly connects to the ideas of the Kung Fu Panda series in terms of like the action sequences, which I should have mentioned that they are really good in this movie. The animation overall is very well done, and this is another one of those things where it's just like, it just makes me believe that DreamWorks is in this second golden age, kind of like how Disney was with The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and that stuff. But yeah, if you were to tell me that Jack Black was going to do a version of Hit Me Baby One More Time and make it one of the most badass things I've heard in a long, long time, I would have said you were crazy. Like, who would have had that on their bingo card for 2024? I mean, just like, but going back to the animation though, DreamWorks Animation, like I said, I feel like they're in this second golden age, and I think that's really going to be because we've already had some good movies since the pandemic ended. You know, The Bad Guys, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I really liked Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. They've only had a couple of flawed films that weren't that great. Trolls Band Together wasn't that great. Neither was Boss Baby, but then again, that's Boss Baby. Spirit Untamed was not that great. I like The Croods, but I thought it was a little too late for that sequel in particular. But I bring this up because the trailer for The Wild Robot came out last week, and I talked about it in another video on the Reviewing Network Live channel. And I saw this. I've seen this trailer so many times on the internet because I just love that trailer. I think it's a well-made, put-together trailer. And then seeing it on the big screen I saw this in Cinemark XD, and seeing that trailer on the big screen, seeing the animation on the big screens, hearing that music, that great cover of What a Wonderful World by Lupita Nyong'o, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I can't wait to see what DreamWorks does with this. This is the last film that DreamWorks is doing within their studio, because I think they're moving out to outside studios after that film comes out. But if they're going to go on a high note, that's probably the one to do it. I really can't wait to see what that movie looks like. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. I got teary-eyed watching that on the big screen. I've watched this trailer so many times at home, but watching it on a big screen like that better not be a disappointment. That better not be a movie that underwhelms, because, man, that trailer just got to me in the theater when I watched it. But overall, back to Kung Fu Panda 4. Final thoughts. I thought it was a good, fun film. I think it's a fine film. It's definitely not as good as the other movies, but then again, I'm okay with that. I mean, at least it's not the Shrek movies where you have that one little blemish in Shrek the Third. You have 4 really solid films of varying degrees. Like, you can still watch all 4 films and still be satisfied and entertained by what you just saw. I mean, I think at a high matinee on a Saturday afternoon, you can take your kids to see this, and they would love the hell out of it. And I think the adults can get a kick out of it, too. I think you can go into it, have a good time. but just don't go into it expecting top tier level Kung Fu Panda. Like, the second film to me is still the high bar for this, and I think that's going to be really hard for this series to ever top. But this is supposedly set to begin in the second half of this series, because I think Jeffrey Katzenberg, when he was talking about this movie, had 6 films envisioned for this. So if they go with that plan, we still got 2 more movies of this, and I'm very curious to see where they go with it, especially if the indication here is that Jack Black's going to be moving up to the spiritual leader realm once he finally passes away, once his character finally moves on to the spirit world. But then again, we'll see what happens there. But I do recommend Kung Fu Panda 4. Not as good as the other films, but still fun enough where I say I give it a thumbs up. I think it's a fun, entertaining film. I say definitely check it out. So yeah, not much more to say about that. That's Kung Fu Panda 4. Now let's go ahead and move on to the film that came out last week that I didn't get to talk about, Dune Part 2. So kind of going back to the original Dune, the first Dune, because that's the only one I've ever seen. I've never seen the 84 film by David Lynch. I've never seen the sci-fi series. Although I hear the sci-fi series is really good. I hear the David Lynch movie is not that great, but the first Dune I thought was pretty good. I don't think it was as good as I don't think it was as great as everybody made it out to be. I thought it was good. My biggest problem with the first film mostly came in the fact that they didn't know if they were going to do a sequel or not, if the story was going to continue. And with these sci-fi movies, they try to start a new franchise before you even know whether or not the film is actually going to make a profit, that you could actually make a second film off of it. And I was really worried going into that film that this was going to end with them setting up a sequel that's probably never going to happen. But the film did very well, and thus here we are with Dune Part 2, where basically in this movie you have Paul Atreides, played by, once again, Timothée Chalamet. He reunites with the Freeman people of the desert planet Arrakis to wage war against House Harkonnen. House Harkonnen being the Harkonnens, including Austin Butler from Elvis, and you have a cast that also includes Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Dave Bautista, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, Stellan Skarsgård, Charlotte Rampling, Javier Bardem. Once again directed by Denis Villeneuve, written by John Spaihts, and everything that everybody's been saying about this movie has been pretty much true, because this really is a movie that, if you were not the huge fan of Dune like I was in the first film, this movie will make you believe that they are really doing something epic and grand with this, because the money definitely is showing there, and the story, I think, is very well done. I think it's a very, very entertaining film. I think it is a film that really is showing why that people are so excited about these movies, because they definitely go bigger. This definitely does have that feel of an Empire Strikes Back or Dark Knight, in terms of upping the ante, getting you so invested in how this is going to continue on, what is getting invested in the story. And it's a movie that's over almost 3 hours long, and kind of like with some of the other movies we've had the last year, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, you never really feel like you're sitting there for a long period of time wasting your time, because you're so invested in these characters and what's going on. Like Timothée Chalamet, I've been kind of hit and miss. I really didn't like Wonka. I've seen him in some films where he's been okay, but I've never felt like he's reached that echelon where I should say that he is really doing something really great to consider him one of the great actors looking forward. But I do like him in this. I am growing on him. I think he has a lot of charisma. I think he has a lot of potential to become a really good actor down the road. And I think this movie really does show that. I do buy his chemistry with Zendaya, who I thought was really good in the film. I thought everybody in here did a very good job. The visual look of the film is amazing. I don't think it needs to be said how great the visuals in this film look. I mean, they look spectacular. They look amazing. And on a big screen, it definitely shows why these movies look as great as they do, because they do look incredible to take a look at. And I mean, I really can't say too much more about this that hasn't already been said already, because I think everybody kind of already sums up what I felt about this film. I think it really is one of the best sci-fi. Really is turning into one of those sci-fi films where they get it right, where they have an idea of what they want to do. They do something completely new and different. They take a classic story from Frank Herbert's stories and actually give a lot of life to it. and it's really impressive to look at. It's definitely one of the best sequels I've seen in a long, long time, and I think it's very interesting how they handle it. It's a very entertaining film. It delivers everything it promises and then some, and from a technical level, from a story level, to a casting level, to just a fun experience in general. I'm glad I finally got to see this on a big screen, because this is something where, like, I'm glad they finally got to make. I'm glad the first movie was the success that it was, because if it wasn't, I don't think we even get to this point. But I thought it was very good. I thought it was very entertaining. I definitely found a lot to really get invested in. It really is one of the best sci-fi films I've seen in a long, long time. Not just one of the best sci-fi films, one of the best sequels I've seen in a long, long time. And not much more to say, man. I mean, I can't really delve into more than what people have already said already. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a huge, major disservice by not doing so. So yeah, I give this movie a big thumbs up. I really enjoyed this film a lot. This is an early contender for one of the best movies of the year. It's that good of a film. I'm kind of curious where they go from there, because they haven't really said that the story is. They don't really do in this particular film. I didn't feel like they kind of set up another film, but I think the intention was always to be a 2-part film. But if they want to do a third one, I wouldn't be against the idea, especially if you keep everybody involved here, and you make this kind of Warner Brothers should make this their equivalent to Star Wars, where this is Empire Strikes Back. Now it's time for Return of the Jedi to come after this. But if they don't want to do that, and they want to just do a third, just want to make it a 2-film series, I'd be okay with that. But I'd be more than open to see what they would be able to do with a third film, if they actually get to that point. Hopefully it sticks to landing, because this one was really, really good. Again, not much more I can say that hasn't already been said already. Dune Part 2, if you haven't seen it yet on the big screen, do it. Stop what you're doing and go see it, because it's definitely worth it. You'd be missing out on one of the best film experiences of the year, easily. So, yeah. That's my review for Dune Part 2. I'm just checking to see. I don't think there's anything coming out next week that... No, I don't think there's anything coming out next week. So next week I get a free week. So the next time we'll be on this show, it'll be the week after that, because Ghostbusters Frozen Empire comes out. Another movie I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully it's really good. I loved Afterlife, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one. But I get a week off next week on this show, at least. So let me know your thoughts down below on either Kung Fu Panda 4 or Dune Part 2. Did you like both of those movies? Let me know your thoughts down below. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time for another episode. So thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button and check out some of the other videos I've done. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, take care.